All right, guys, we're going to get rocking and rolling here very shortly. Look at the screen for today's headlines. Take a look at the screen for the topics we will cover on today's show. Join us with some discussion. Chime in. Share your perspective. Share a topic you want to cover. We appreciate some of the comments that we've received and topic and talking matters, talking points we receive from people like Carol Thorpe, the Queen of Jack Jewett. Folks like Jason Howard, the King of Rio. Kevin Higgins, the King of Greenwood. We chatted up yesterday the Piedmont restaurant closing. We love getting comments from you guys and ideas for the show. And oftentimes we weave those ideas into the broadcast. Give it a like and a share anywhere you're watching. We'll talk Sita McGill's surprising resignation, an emotional resignation. We have video highlights from yesterday's City Council meeting. Carol, we appreciate you, Carol Thorpe, quite a bit. You're one of our favorite viewers and listeners, Carol. She suggested the Sita McGill topic and even gave us a timestamp of when the resignation transpired at yesterday's meeting, which made the editing process very easy for us. Thank you, Carol Thorpe. We will talk panhandling in downtown Charlottesville. Is aggressive panhandling a problem for downtown Charlottesville? We'll get Judah Wickhauer's perspective on that as he has a two-shot ready to go and the microphone in front of him, ready to share his thoughts on today's talk show. I'm going to introduce you to a real estate listing, 705 Nelson Drive. The asking price is $575,000, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 988 square feet. This idea and talking point was shared with me by Christina Blunt. She suggested we talk this topic yesterday afternoon, and we are going to talk about it today as a result of her suggestion. So thank you, Christina. We'll talk Custom Ink closing, 206 local jobs lost for Charlottesville. And speculation is there's a new restaurant ready to open in the old Fellini's location. And my wife and I had a fantastic dinner at Public Fish and Oyster yesterday. We'll let you know why it was so special. Judah, do you have that two-shot ready to rock and roll? Fantastic. And the mic ready to go. We're going to go to you right out of the gate. So you might want to swing that mic over and make sure the volume is on that mic for you. Scott Aaronworth, the King of Virginia Beach. Hello and welcome to the program. Surprising news with Sita's resignation. You're exactly right, Scott. Judah, we can rock and roll when you're ready.
Quiet on the set.
Guys, good Wednesday afternoon. I'm Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love Seville show. Thank you kindly for joining us. It's a pleasure to connect with you guys through this network, a network presented by Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine. Who's got your back? Dr. Wagner and his team at Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine have your back. Changing people's lives, Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine. A lot to cover on today's show. Sita McGill resigns. And she does it in unexpected fashion yesterday in a city council meeting in a very emotional resignation. We will play a highlight clip from yesterday's city council meeting with Sita McGill resigning and surprising many in this community. We will ask the question, how should city council handle Sita McGill's resignation? On today's talk show. We'll talk about panhandling. This was a story in NBC 29. Is aggressive panhandling a problem for downtown Charlottesville? How do we drive more customers to downtown Charlottesville? That topic on today's show. We'll talk Custom Ink. Custom Ink has surprisingly closed its Charlottesville facility. Custom Ink, 206 jobs lost in Charlottesville, Virginia. We'll talk about that on today's show, and we'll talk the rumor and the scuttlebutt of a new restaurant potentially opening in the old Fellini's location, and I want to share my firsthand perspective from dinner last night at Public Fish and Oyster. So a lot to cover on today's show. Let's welcome Judah Wickower, our director of the program, the jack of all wits, the jack of all trades, the jack of all turtlenecks and zippers on those turtlenecks, and just an all-around nice guy. Judah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sena McGill's resigning.
Yeah.
She's come on this talk show a handful of times. The vice mayor of Charlottesville. A mother, a wife, a mental health advocate, a progressive Democrat, undoubtedly very progressive in her policies and her perspective. Her husband, Tyler, directly impacted by August 12th, 2017, injured during the Nazi rally, still recovering from that injury. Sena McGill, when it comes down to it, just a genuine human, someone who wore her emotions on her sleeve, which I think the viewers and listeners will see with the clip we'll play from yesterday's meeting. In a few short months, we've had two pretty significant resignations for elected officials. We had David Oberg resign from the Albemarle County School Board, and now Sena McGill resigned from Charlottesville City Council.
Yeah.
With both David Oberg's resignation from the school board and Sena McGill's resignation from City Council, they both cited the need to prioritize family and why they were making the decision to step down in the middle of their respective terms.
Yeah.
Before we play yesterday's clip with Sena McGill's resignation, I want to get your take on this. The vice mayor of Charlottesville stepping down midterm with what is a large portion of a year going to be left on her term when they fill it from an interim standpoint.
I mean, I don't really have much of a take. I just heard about it, and I figure if Sena McGill knows what's best for her family, and if this is what it requires, then I'm sure she feels she's making the right move.
Yeah, it's hard to, especially at the local level, it's hard to hold. It's hard to throw shade at anyone that's resigning midterm. These folks, like I've highlighted before, are not getting paid much money.
Right.
Sena McGill, as the vice mayor, is getting paid $18,000 a year. While local government has been more consistent and stable since the Nakia Walker term, it's still a pretty stressful job that has many roller coaster aspects to it.
No doubt.
You had a pretty visible police chief hiring that was done last year, late last year. We're talking in the fourth quarter of last year, about a month ago. The city manager still is vacant, that position.
Yeah.
The city attorney is out. So there's a tremendous amount of attrition and vacancy in City Hall.
Yeah.
And the responsibility, the culpability, the accountability, whatever word you want to use, is always going to fall on the 5 city councilors, and Sena is one of them. Do you have the highlight clip to play?
Yep.
Why don't we go to the highlight clip with the PTIs on screen so folks can see what we're going to talk about today? Can you do the highlight clip from yesterday and overlay it with the PTIs? If you can, if you cannot, see if you can figure that out. I'll leave that up to you. So what I'm going to play here...
Do you want to see the clip, or do you
Yeah, you can't play the clip with the PTIs right next to them?
Yeah, but it's going to cover most of the video.
All right, then let's...
That's why I'm
well,
asking,
we don't need the headlines.
I mean,
we don't need the PTIs. We don't
Okay.
need the PTIs. Let's not overthink this. We can just play the clip. All right, so we're going to play a portion of last night's city council meeting where Sena McGill indicates to the community that she has resigned. she was emotional and had Michael Payne read her resignation statement. Judah, let's play that clip in 3 and 2 and 1. Let's play it.
Other business, are there any other business items for consideration?
Yes, Mayor Snook. I have an announcement that. Did you read this?
Would you like me to?
Yeah.
I will read this.
Thank you.
On behalf of Councilor McGill, this is a statement she has written and prepared. Again, this is from Councilor Sina McGill. This evening, I have the regrettable news that I must step down from office. The needs of my family have changed during my term in office, and in the last few months, it has become more and more apparent that I cannot meet the needs effectively of both. At this time, I cannot be the mother I need to be and also provide the service to the people who elected me that I committed to. This has not been an easy decision, as there is much I still want to do for this city, but right now I need to focus on my family and their needs. Thank you for allowing me to serve you. Again, that is the prepared statement from Councilor McGill this evening.
And
Thank you, Sina.
Counselor, I believe you had said another email that you would expect your last day to be January 11th. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And
I want
so,
to make sure that I can, that there's a particular meeting that always threatens to have a quorum, so I don't want to.
sure. Okay, so
Sina McGill, emotional resignation. That's one of the things that I really appreciated about Sina McGill is she knows who she is who she is, and she's proud to be it.
Yeah.
She's genuine. She's comfortable in her skin. She may be doing a city council meeting via Zoom, Judah, and her cat is walking on screen. Like you see her cat walking in the shot of the city council Zoom meeting. What other city councilors can you think of in Charlottesville over the last handful of years where their pets make appearances and their Zoom shots during city council meetings? I can't think of a single one. Can you?
Well, I think we're in the rare time where, we've been affected by the pandemic, so I don't know how many counselors have
That's
been
fair.
on Zoom calls
Yeah.
that go public. But
I feel like I know Sina McGill's kitty cat. Let me put it that way.
okay.
Okay? Take the resignation yesterday. Is that about as real as a resignation as it's going to get?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, so overcome with emotion, she's having her colleague read the resignation.
Yeah.
And as Warrior AG just put it on the feed, and I agree with Warrior AG, if family isn't right, nothing is right. Family takes priority over any job.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, some folks have put on the feed that if you commit to doing something, you see that commitment through no matter what.
I mean, I agree with the first comment. Your family comes first no matter what, and we don't know what's going on with the McGill family. So I think we got to give them a little leeway, give her a little leeway in knowing what. I doubt she made this decision
Hastily.
rashly.
Yeah, we're in agreement there. I agree with that take as well. I agree with that take. Here's the questions we should be asking. Question number 1. The remaining counselors, Mayor Snook, Juan Diego Wade, Brian Pigston, and Michael Payne, now have to pick a replacement for Sina McGill.
Yeah.
They have to pick a replacement from active voters in the city of Charlottesville. The remaining counselors are all Democrats. The first question I have, will the remaining counselors pick a Democrat, or will they look for some thought and diversity and choose an independent, libertarian, or Republican? That's a question I have.
I would like to think that they would choose the most able candidate, but
What does able candidate mean?
it means the person that's best for the job. But I'm
What determines best for the job? What is your criteria for best for the job?
Well, first of all, somebody's got to want the job, or
Okay.
at least be willing to do the job.
That's the great first step. Who would want this job? You're going to be working from February until December. Will you be taking this interim job or applying for this interim job with the idea that you're going to run for election when this seat comes up for election in November?
It could be one of the former candidates that, that would have a chance to sit on the council now.
Scott Aaronworth nominates Judah Wickower for this position.
Yeah. that's
Judah
gonna
Wickower actually lives in Albemarle County, do you not?
happen. I do live just on the other
Just
side
over
of
the
border.
line.
Yeah.
So Judah Wickower cannot be the interim city councilor here because he's an Albemarle County resident.
Hold my beer while I go cry.
You don't feel compelled from a civic duty standpoint?
It would require far more work than just being a part of the council. I would need to do probably dozens, if not hundreds of hours of homework in order to feel up to the task.
Oh, it would be hundreds of hours of homework. It would not be dozens.
Yeah.
It would be hundreds of hours of homework. So, okay, so here's my first question. They need a replacement. The replacement will work in this interim role on council from February till
Until-
December 31st.
Until the next election.
Yeah, the next election is in November of this year. So the interim position is literally from February until December 31st, and then the new person comes in on January 1 and fills the seat for 4 years. Who would want this interim job? And if you want this interim job, are you indicating that you're going to run for the job full-time in the November election? Another question that's a legitimate question. If you're Lloyd Snook, Brian Pinkston, Juan Diego Wade, and Michael Payne, are you going to pick an interim person that is, quote, a yes person that will pretty much green light everything you have done or want to do in the remaining 12 months, 11 months of your term?
I don't see why they wouldn't.
You're saying they would pick a yes person.
I said I don't see why they wouldn't.
What would you think the odds are of Payne, Pinkston, Wade, and Snook picking a Republican to fill this spot, the interim spot?
I mean, if
Less than 10%?
if I would say less than 1%.
Less than 1%. Okay, so you're saying they're going to pick someone that aligns with their ideology.
Most likely. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you asked anyone that question, they would say the same. I would like to think that if there was a great candidate who's willing to do the job, wanting to come alongside and help the council for the remainder of the year, that they would pick the most able candidate, as I said before. But this is politics, and
And this is Charlottesville, Virginia.
yeah. So I just don't see it happening.
I mean, and here's another question.
I would love to be proved wrong, though.
Here's Lee Elberson. Welcome to the program. He says, more struggles in Charlottesville leadership. This is saddening. I also find it perplexing. Your city attorney resigned in December, right? You still don't have a city manager. Now you have one of your 5 city councilors resigning. Your police chief starts, is it tomorrow? We'll see what Michael Kachis, let's see how well Michael Kachis performs as his role as the top cop. It is concerning the turnover. I'm also concerned by this. This interim spot is literally going to be a 10.5 month interim spot that fills Sina McGill Whoever fills Sina McGill's spot is going to be in the interim role for 10 and a half months.
Yeah.
Okay? They're going to be making a prorated salary somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,500. Carry that. Call it $15,000. $15,000.
Yeah.
The meetings are during the day. Many of the meetings are during the day. They require flexibility of scheduling.
Yep.
We already know there's a difficulty of filling it 4-year permanent term where you're making 18,000 times 4.
What do you mean difficult?
There's few people who can be a local elected official because of the time commitment required and the lack of pay that comes with that significant time
That's fair, but
requirement.
we also are never short of candidates when
We're
election
often
time
short
comes
of
around.
candidates. We have many elections where the candidates run unopposed, which is an indication of being short of candidates.
Recently, though?
Undoubtedly. Nad Galloway, unopposed, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. Diantha McKeel, unopposed, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors.
Okay, but I thought we were talking about Charlottesville.
Well, I mean, there's examples of a lack of opposition. Take when Michael Payne, Sina McGill, and Lloyd Snook won. They had one person that really offered any kind of significant opposition, and that was friend of the program, Bellamy Brown. We don't have.
I would love to see him in
We love
the,
Bellamy Brown. We're huge fans of Bellamy Brown
I
on
don't
this
know
talk
if he
show.
would agree to do it, but
Here's the point I'm making. I would say that looking for a candidate to fill Sina McGill's interim spot, 10 and a half months, $15,000 of pay, will be more difficult and challenging to get interested parties than having a 4-year term,
yeah.
18,000 times 4, and an entire 4 years to make an influence and make an impact.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Not only, well, I think mostly because in the case of someone running, they've thought about it. They've probably talked to their loved ones. They've, gone over the pros and the cons, and they've made a personal decision that's going to affect their lives for the next 4 years. Here we're talking about somebody that's got it's got a month or two to figure out and decide whether this is what they really want to do, and if they can even make it work.
That's what I'm saying.
With whatever job they currently have.
That's what I'm saying. Lisa Costello says Bellamy Brown would be great. Very level-headed, focused on goals, fair to all.
Yeah.
Lisa, I'm responding to that.
Definitely
Agreed. Love Bellamy Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally tagging Bellamy in there as well. You said it perfectly. Who's going to want to put their hand in the air and say, I want to be the interim spot? I will work only 10 and a half months. I will have zero chance to implement any kind of real policy or have any kind of positive change in 10 and a half months. I'm going to have no notoriety, no name recognition, and I'm going to be replaced by someone come January 1 with an election looming in November. Who's going to put their hand in the air and say they want that job?
I don't know if all of that is true.
What part's not true?
You're saying that nothing of import is going to happen in council in the next year?
When the interim person, man or woman, is put on the dais in February, they will have half of February and the remaining rest of the year, including Q4 that's vastly interrupted by Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Festivus, and all those holidays, right? They will get nothing done. Okay. They will not be able to do anything of merit in that interim spot. They'll be able to vote on stuff, but what they're going to be voting on is policy and change and vision that the other 4 counselors brought to the table. Here's another question I have for you. The 4 counselors that you have on the dais right now, Pinkston, Snook, Payne, and Juan Diego Wade, 4 men. Should you prioritize a female for the 5th spot in the interim position?
A woman?
4 men right now. Should you prioritize a female? Should you prioritize a female of color? Should you prioritize someone that has a different political ideology than the current 4 Democrats?
I mean,
All questions that I think are applicable and fair. Another question I have, will whoever fills this spot, what kind of role will they have in hiring a city manager? What kind of role will they have in finding a new city attorney? What kind of role will they have in the budget process, arguably the most important aspect of being on council? How can someone come in for 10 and a half months and just be thrown into a budget cycle and choose how the city of Charlottesville is going to spend its $200+ million and yearly funds?
that's a lot of questions. So I hope you find answers to them.
How could this person impact the Buford school reconfiguration that's a hot topic this year? Not being a part of the reconfiguration process the entire time. Carol Thorpe, Queen of Jack Jewett, has a comment. Lack of time and compensation are not the only reasons for a lack of candidate. I know of several, including myself, who have not even tried because we are not Democrats and have zero shot of winning out of the gate. It's a fair point. Queen of Jack Jewett, Carol Thorpe. The last non-Democrat on council was?
Was it?
Trivia question. Who was the last non-Democrat on Charlottesville City Council? Viewers and listeners. Judah Wickhauer's on the hot seat right now.
I know who it is. I'm drawing.
I don't think you do. This is somewhat of a trick question. Who was the last non-Democrat to serve on Charlottesville City Council? Who's your guess? I know who you're saying. You're probably thinking a ponytailed broadcaster
That's
that likes
the
to
one.
play the guitar.
And you're saying that's wrong?
You think the answer is Rob Schilling.
That was what first came to mind. Yes.
The reality is, Nikiah Walker won as an independent.
Independent, yeah.
Nikiah Walker won as an independent, Queen of Jack Jewett.
But we all know that she wasn't an independent.
She ran as an independent. By the letter of the law, she was an independent when she was elected into office.
Okay.
Schilling was a Republican. Nikiah Walker as an independent. There's Kathy Galvin walking by. We love her. Good to see you, Kathy. I'd love to see, I'm very curious to see who volunteers to fill Sina McGill's spot. I'm very curious to see who is the one. And I'm also very curious to see if whoever raises their hand to fill Sina McGill's spot, if they do it with the mindset that this is going to be a springboard for them to utilize to win an election and get into like a tryout, if you may.
Right.
Like getting their feet wet and getting some seasoning before they make a push for a 4-year spot.
Yeah.
And I'm very curious to see how Lloyd Snook, Brian Pinkston, Juan Diego Wade, and Michael Payne, all men, navigate diversity on the dais. Diversity in thought and diversity in look. Because last I checked, Charlottesville City was not all men.
It's definitely not.
You by your body language, you seem to think that point that has less of reason to, less credibility or significance.
I think it's problematic because we see it too often, and I feel like it negates the
We see what too often?
hiring for diversity rather than ability. I have no problem, whatever sex, color, religion, a good candidate is, as long as they're a good candidate. But if you're just trying to find the right square to fill, I'm dubious that is the best way to go about finding an able candidate.
Fair point. Fair point. Warrior AG, also known as Albert L. Graves II, says, why not have a special election and let the people of Charlottesville choose?
Could you just write in any name? I think that I think you need to have people step forward first, but then that might be a good idea. Who knows?
I think I don't mind the special election idea. The problem with the special election idea is the time constraints.
Yeah.
They need to get someone on the dais filling the spot immediately. And that's why appointing someone is a more potentially efficient process.
Although it's still going to take 2 months.
Yeah. Well, by the letter of the law, state code indicates
Yeah, 45 days.
45 days that they have to
After the 11th.
they have to leave ample time for people to potentially fill the spot.
Yeah.
Carol Thorpe, you want to fill that spot, Carol Thorpe? Bob Yarborough, the king of Redfield, says what we see too often is males in leadership.
That's definitely true.
That's 100% true. It's 100% true.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
100% true.
But whether that's because...
I mean, look at what Charlottesville City right now is being run by this, okay? Let's talk about the top positions. Joe Plantania is the Commonwealth's attorney. He's a white male. Michael Kachis is the chief of police, Charlottesville. He's a white male. The mayor of Charlottesville, Lloyd Snook, is a white male. The city manager is the interim city manager is Michael Rogers. He's a black male. Okay? Then you have Pinkston, Juan Diego Wade, and Michael Payne, all men. With the resignations of the city attorney and the vice mayor, Sean McGill, Lisa Robertson's the city attorney, you lost your 2 top female from leadership in Charlottesville City. Lisa Robertson resigned in December. Sean McGill's peacing out now. So, 4 men on council, city manager dude, police chief dude. You're not talking about a lot of female diversity here in leadership of Charlottesville City, a world-class city. That's a point that should be made.
The problem is, do you go out and force someone to
I'm
take
just
the
making
job?
the point.
I know.
I'm making the point.
I understand.
That
but
men are running Charlottesville City right now. I'm
problem-
just making the point.
I have a problem with looking at it that way, and I understand the arguments, but at the same time, it's like, okay, do we force more women to apply for those jobs?
Maybe force isn't the right word. How about encourage? Encourage.
Sure. But the hope is that we find the most able person for the job. So if you're saying that, if you're alleging that these jobs have been filled by men because they're men rather than because they're able, then that's definitely a problem. Is that the case?
Just making a point. It's a point for a talk show. Who would be, let's see, Deputy City Manager, Charlottesville? I want to make sure I have her name right. Ashley Marshall, the Deputy City Manager for Racial Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, is now the top shot caller in City Hall that's a female. She's a Deputy City Manager. She is now the top shot caller at Charlottesville City Hall that's a woman.
Okay.
Your Commissioner of Revenue is a male. Todd Divers. Your Commonwealth's Attorney is a male. Your Chief of Police is a male. Your number 1 City Manager, Michael Rogers, is a male. Your number 2 City Manager, Deputy City Manager, Sam Sanders, is a male. Your 4 City Councilors are all guys. Point for a talk show. That's all I'm saying. And to Judah's point, Vanessa Parkhill is making a similar point. You can't necessarily put a square peg in a round hole and force the issue, but perhaps you could encourage some diversity.
Certainly.
Encouraging the diversity is all I'm saying. Vanessa Parkhill says, I know many women who would not represent my views. Estrogen does not make us like-minded. That's a very fair point.
Very fair.
It's a very fair point. I understand it completely. There is also something to be said about perception and reality. And the perception is, if you do the family tree, the family tree of employment for Charlottesville City, that family tree, at the top of the tree, is dominated by, what's the opposite of estrogen? Testosterone.
Yeah.
Dominated by testosterone. It's dominated by testosterone. Point for a talk show. All right, we want to get to the next topic here. Do you think panhandling is a problem in downtown Charlottesville? NBC 29 had an article out.
I think it's a problem.
The article on NBC 29 asked the question, is aggressive panhandling a problem in downtown Charlottesville? NBC 29 asked the question, Friends of Seaville, a nonprofit that its sole mission is to drive positivity and customer engagement to downtown, Friends of Seaville. It's essentially a co-op of business owners and landlords all working in conjunction and pooling their resources to make Charlottesville's 8 blocks, the downtown mall, more positively seen. Friends of Seaville says aggressive panhandling is a problem in downtown Charlottesville and is keeping people from visiting the crown jewel or the heartbeat of Charlottesville, Virginia, the downtown mall. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I think it definitely is.
Tell me why.
I mean, have you been on the downtown mall?
I'm there every day.
Some of the people down there are angry.
Angry or have mental health issues.
Who cares? What if there's a difference?
I mean, there's a difference. There's
And
generally
they
more
might not
empathy given to them battling mental health issues than those that are just angry.
And I used angry as a stand-in because not all of them are angry, but the fact of the matter is, if you've got people yelling at just somebody minding their business on the downtown mall,
That happens often.
and it happens often.
It happens very often.
Yeah, I mean, we're both referencing the same.
There's
the same comments.
There's a handful of guys.
There's a what?
There's a handful of aggressive panhandlers downtown.
Yeah, well, I don't know the numbers. I just know that they're out there, and you and I are both referencing the same comments from, and reading through them, there are a lot of them from women who are not comfortable coming to the downtown mall. Some of them not comfortable coming to the downtown mall at all.
My wife and her friends, very uncomfortable to come downtown by themselves after hours.
Yeah.
Even in a group of 1, 2, or 3 of them. Uncomfortable coming downtown at night.
So you've got this crossfire of events and situations that I think is leading to a death spiral for the downtown mall.
Ooh.
If something isn't done. You've got the fallout from the pandemic, where people stopped coming to the downtown mall. At least some of them did. You've got stuff like panhandlers who are liable to yell at someone if they don't get something.
You had the murder outside a bar.
You have the murder that may affect some people's desires to come to the downtown mall.
You had the shootout, OK Corral style,
Yeah,
in the Omni parking lot.
Yeah,
You got the parking conundrum, some people believe. I don't know why you're getting exasperated.
because I'm trying to talk.
Well, I'm trying to add some color to what you're saying.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think a big problem is now you've got a lot of these businesses that either because of the pandemic or because of a lack
Labor shortages.
of money or, labor shortages have cut their hours. So now when people do make it to the downtown mall, they're uncertain whether or not the store that they want to visit, or maybe they want to visit multiple stores, are even going to be open. I mean, I tried to get brunch at the Nook one Saturday. Got there at like 2:45. I'm
2:45 in the afternoon?
yeah, it's a late brunch. It's Saturday. I like breakfast, so I'm going to have a late brunch. Anyways, I get there at like 2:45, and they're cleaning up, and they say, "Oh, we're just about to close,"
Well, it's okay.
and they're not opening for dinner.
They
A lot of-
were not opening for dinner. All right, that's concerning.
A lot of places are choosing either brunch or dinner, one or the other.
Well, you know why that is.
It's for a lot of reasons.
It's likely for the labor.
Yeah. But, like I said, there are a lot of issues that are all leading into this downward spiral. If you have less places open on the downtown mall, you have less reasons to come to the downtown mall. And if you also come to the downtown mall and there are less people, so you're more easily singled out by the loud,
Aggressive panhandlers.
whether he's got mental issues or not, they all just. Then you've got the fact that we had no New Year's Eve. Nothing going on in the downtown mall New Year's Eve, so that was probably a big hit to the wallets of a lot of these businesses that normally rely on heavy business for a night. And you've got a lot of places that are probably looking at the downtown mall and saying, why am I still spending money on a lease here?
There you go. I think Judah outlined that extremely well. William Clark said you nailed it. I think you nailed it as well. How do you fix it?
I think you start by policing the downtown mall.
Do you fix it by doing a joint venture with the Haven? This is a very touchy subject.
I know it's a touchy subject,
that
but
brings up the ire of a lot of people. And I'll set the stage, and then we can take a deep dive on it. Okay? There are a number of soup kitchens, nonprofits that cater to the houseless. It's houseless now. The houseless population. Furthermore, the library on Market Street, if you ever go into the library during the day,
I see people coming out.
you will immediately notice a large houseless population in the library, using the Wi-Fi, the free computers, staying out of cold weather or hot weather or rainy weather, taking advantage of the comfortable seating, reading books, reading magazines, spending time in between meals that are offered for free at the various soup kitchens around the downtown mall, nonprofits, churches, and hanging out at the library. You also have a large portion of the, a good, strong contingent of the houseless population hanging out in the parks, including, what's the park now? Is it Market Street Park? Is that what it's called? Or is it Emancipation Park?
I have no idea what they're
We'll
called.
call it Market Street Park for the sake of conversation.
Is that the one next to the library?
Yeah. You've seen folks hanging out there, right?
Oh yeah, I choose my path through.
You
there.
avoid it
I go through
when you're
there.
walking Liza.
I go through the park with Liza, but I choose my path based on
The population.
who and what I see there.
Okay, so here's the question, and this is one that gets people's scruff on their neck up. Should a joint venture be done with the city of Charlottesville, City Hall, and say the Haven to potentially relocate some of the services provided to houseless individuals around the downtown mall?
I think that would be
knowing
wise.
that if these third parties, like the Haven and some of these nonprofits, are located to another portion of the city, then potentially the panhandling and the houseless population would be eradicated from the downtown mall. Is that what needs to be done?
I think that would be helpful.
How the hell do you navigate that? Who's got the political capital or the political will or the thick skin to broach that topic? And who
I don't know. I think you just have to do it.
I'll ask this question. Who thought it was a good idea to green light all these third parties that are incredibly positive for the community with the support they offer the houseless population? The Haven's fantastic. I'm not throwing shade on the Haven. Who thought it was a good idea to have the Haven on the downtown mall?
Right.
But you have these conversations and you catch immediate flack for having them.
Yeah.
Because you're seen as insensitive, you're seen as trying to manage people, you're seen as prioritizing commerce and business over human lives. You're seen as potentially not wanting diversity.
The problem is that they're ignoring the fact that there are human lives on the other side of this equation as well. There are people that don't want to get yelled at while they're on the downtown mall. There are people
Spending their money.
There are people that are scared because some guy picks up a metal chair because he's angry that you won't, give him a dollar or $5. I'm sorry, but that kind of behavior should not be ignored just because you feel for the person.
Because there's not the political will to do something about it.
Right.
And it's another intriguing wrinkle to this conversation is the downtown mall, by the letter of the law, is a public park. It's a public park by the letter of the law. Look it up, guys. The downtown mall is a public park by definition.
Well, so what happens when you're threatened on a public park?
That's my point. There's my point. If someone was threatened at a public park or there was aggressive panhandling at a public park like Azalea Park or like McIntyre Park, right? Any of these other parks where there are playground equipment and kids and moms, the police would be all over that like flies on doo-doo and cleaning it up immediately. They would clean it up immediately. But because it's happening downtown, it's being overlooked. It's either being overlooked or it's being ignored, or people don't have the gumption or the political will or the political capital or the thick skin to scream, hey, enough is enough.
Yeah, if somebody has mental problems and they're threatening people on the downtown mall, something needs to be done about them. And I'm talking about getting them help. I'm not saying that you just ignore it, which seems to be the consensus.
Well, that's
right
what's
now.
happening now.
Yeah.
That's
And
exactly what's happening right now.
something has to be done.
Lisa Costello has good comments here. She says, when does freedom of expression cross the line on the downtown mall? It's a great comment.
Yeah.
You got clapping man who walks up and down the mall,
Yeah.
clapping and screaming.
Yeah.
You got the man who carries the what I call it, the cane. What is the thing called with the guy with the long gray beard and he has a staff that has a
Staff, I guess.
yeah. The guy who carries the staff up and down the mall, screaming and
I
yelling.
think so. Yeah. I haven't seen him in a long time, but
Okay. You have a number of aggressive panhandlers who get in your face.
yeah.
When do we start saying it's at the point of being a problem and we need policy and action to change it? And here's the next question Lisa Costello asked. If you choose to relocate the houseless population around the downtown mall, where would you move them
Yeah.
otherwise in a 10.2 square mile city that's landlocked and pretty much at capacity?
Well, I think the problem in my mind is less about moving them and more about actually getting them help. Like, look, you can't just sit on the mall and yell at people. We're gonna have to take you somewhere.
Bob Yarborough, on your point, says the King of Redfields, panhandling is most often a free speech issue, right? Aggressive and intimidating behavior is not a free speech issue. It's a tough tightrope to walk, particularly in a public space.
Yeah, and I have no problem with, the panhandlers in general.
Carol Thorpe, expression and solicitation are two distinct things. Expression and solicitation are two distinct things.
No doubt.
Two very different things. Completely agree. Bill McChesney says you have to get Jeff Fogel out of the picture. He's the activist attorney, Jeff Fogel. Like, does this problem need to crescendo? Is this how this problem is solved? It gets so significant
That somebody gets hurt and then they have to do something?
potentially, or it crescendos with vacancies on the downtown mall.
And nobody does anything.
Empty
because-
storefronts on the downtown mall. Is that how it crescendos and then something is actually done by it?
I mean,
Because someone just got hurt. Now, granted, that was not by aggressive panhandlers.
right.
That was gang activity. But folks have gotten hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Does it crescendo and then become an issue where folks take action when there's an empty storefront index and that index gets pretty high?
Hopefully. But I don't know. If it's perceived that the major cause of those empty storefronts is overly aggressive panhandlers,
Is the
do
cause
we just
of,
not do anything about it? Because,
the
as you
cause-
said, nobody has the political capital to
That's what I'm
get
saying.
it done.
Is the cause of empty storefronts going to be aggressive panhandling primarily? Or is that just one of the deaths of 1,000 cuts?
I think it's just one of many
Cuts
reasons
that lead to a death.
But I probably depends who you ask. Most likely have to find all the owners and question them. They would probably have the best.
I would imagine the owners would say the aggressive panhandling is a problem.
I'm sure they would say it is a problem. I know that I've heard from. I know I've seen comments and commentary about people who work on the downtown mall who say, I get someone to walk me to my car. I don't want to be yelled at by someone asking for money when I'm on my break.
I mean, I'll put this in perspective, and then we'll go to the next topic. And Bob Yarborough says, could the downtown mall evolve into a private corporate entity? That's got my wheels turning. Before I go down that road, I'll put it in perspective. My wife is in her 30s. A lot of friends of a similar age.
Yeah.
They like having ladies' nights and getting away from their husbands and children. Because evidently children and husbands drive them crazy. I don't know what the order is. Probably in my house it would be husband atop the list. So they choose to have girls' nights, which is awesome. And girls' nights are meeting for apps and cocktails and dinner.
Yep.
They will not come downtown.
Where do they go?
They go Dairy Market. They go Barracks Road. They go Shops of Stonefield. They go the local neighborhood, the local closest bar.
Yeah.
When the idea is, why don't you go downtown? The immediate response is no. And losing a demographic, and I'm not saying these ladies speak for everyone, but losing a demographic of some folks that have some disposable money that are looking to eat and drink in the middle of the week where it's otherwise slow, losing that demographic is concerning.
Yeah, or even losing parts of multiple demographics. I'm usually on the downtown mall Thursday night meeting with a friend, and there's certainly activity, but it doesn't seem as heavy as it has in the past. And I definitely the groups of people I do see are usually groups.
Well, Warrior AG Albert Graves II makes the comment to Bob Yarborough. He says, if it's privately owned, could they impose a no trespassing or no solicitation or no loitering rules? And Warrior AG, the answer to that is yes. One of the reasons you don't see homelessness and aggressive panhandling in Stonefield or in Barracks Road Shopping Center or at Dairy Market is because they are privately owned and they ask folks to leave. The downtown mall is a public park by the letter of the law. So you cannot ask folks to leave because it's a public space, a public park. Why, in part, my wife and her friends like to go to Dairy Market or Barracks Road in Stonefield is because they know it's safe.
Yeah.
There is no aggressive panhandling.
Yeah.
So if it was privately owned, yes, they could ask folks, not just panhandlers, people like Judah and I, to leave should they want to, because it's privately owned.
Yeah.
So is that how you solve the question? And how do you make downtown privately owned? We're obviously spitballing here and chattering for the sake of a talk show. How would you make it privately owned?
I don't know if you could. Is it set aside as a public park?
It's the downtown mall by the letter of the law of what the downtown mall is it's a public park.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's a public park.
So I don't know if there is a way to get around that.
I don't think. I think one thing that could be considered is making downtown a what is it called? A business improvement district. A BID, and look up business improvement districts, where it's a portion of a jurisdiction that is kind of like earmarked because of its influence and its importance. And the business improvement district, the people in that district, the businesses, the real estate owners, the landlords, they have to pay an additional tax. But that additional tax goes to the beautification of quality of life for that district. Maybe that's something that should be considered, turning downtown into a business improvement district, which would allow the district a bit more autonomy in policing itself. But right now, if you've been downtown, you see that it's not at its peak performance. Is that fair? I think that's fair.
Yeah.
It's not at its peak performance. And this is coming from someone, yours truly, that has a lot of skin in the game with real estate ownership downtown. So it not only hurts my soul, it hurts my pocketbook as well. Interesting topic. All right, three more topics I want to get to. How about the real estate listing? You put the photos on screen. Guys, this is 705 Nelson Drive. Let me see where 705 Nelson Drive is located. Let me know when you put the photos on screen, if you could, sir, please. 705 Nelson Drive is located on...
Let's see, why is that not working?
So it's located off McIntyre Road, kind of by the McIntyre Recycling Center and that baseball field on McIntyre Road. So right down the road from the...
Hold on.
Right down the road from the baseball field and pretty close to Seaville Coffee is Nelson Drive. You got the photos on there?
Just about.
All right, 705 Nelson Drive. I'm going to give you the specs
All right,
of this house.
front is on.
All right, this is the front of the house. It's on screen. Look at the screen. Look at the screen. The asking price for this house is $575,000. $575,000. It's 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and 988 square feet. Christina Blunt sent me this as a talking point. She said, check out this house, and now it's a part of today's talk show. You guys send me ideas, we integrate them into the show. 705 Nelson Drive, Judah, has an asking price of $575,000. It's 2 bedrooms, it's 1 bathroom, it's less than 1,000 square feet, and it was built in 1953. This home is 70 years old, Judah Wickauer. 70 years old. Susie Pace and Lynn Fox of Pace Real Estate Associates have the listing. Yes, the location is nice. You're basically talking north downtown here. You're basically talking north downtown here. A little more north, but north downtown. The home in 1991, Judah. What do you think this house sold for in 1991?
$135,000.
It's a good guess. $82,000.
Damn.
1991, the home sold for $82,000. In 2023, the home has an asking price of $575,000. That's an appreciation of over 600%, Judah, in roughly 30 years. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not going to throw shade on the house. I'm just bringing a listing to you that caught my attention. What do you make of 705 Nelson Drive with an asking price of $575,000?
I mean, it does have a few extras which are showing right now. So it's not like it's just a tiny little house.
The lot size is, let me see if I can find the lot size. We're getting that question on the feed here. Finish your thought. You see the potential with finishing the attic space, don't you?
Yeah.
Is that what you were going to say?
No, I'm looking at the, what is it? It looks like a barn or something.
I call that like a greenhouse, a storage shed.
There's a greenhouse, and then there's maybe a...
0.23 acres, Bob. 0.23 acres. So less than a quarter of an acre. This is not a tear down. That's a positive. This is not a tear down.
Yeah, that's true.
Another positive of this is there's an attic that can be finished and potentially converted into like a master suite that would take this to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house and would add a lot of value. Another positive of this house is the flat parking in the rear. So while we have seen homes that have been in more beat up shape, this still commands a pretty hefty price tag at $575,000.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yeah, no doubt.
2 bedrooms, 1 bath. This isn't even in the upzoning area that would create density potential. It is not in an upzoning area for density. It's just an indication of how expensive this market is. All right, we'll go to the next topic. What'd you make of Custom Ink closing its Charlottesville production facility?
It's a shame. I mean...
206 jobs in Charlottesville lost when Custom Ink closes its production facility. 206 jobs as Custom Ink consolidates in-house production at its Dallas, Texas facility.
Yeah, that's. I mean, how many businesses can boast that many
Employees locally?
Yeah,
not many. Not many.
Yeah,
206 is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the unfortunate aspect of it. Anytime someone loses their job, I'm empathetic. But the jobs that are being lost here are the jobs that are not associated with science, technology, engineering, and math.
Yeah.
They're the jobs associated with you work hard, you could get promoted, and you don't need significant diplomas to get hired.
Yeah.
They're jobs that can appeal to the everyday man and woman.
Right.
It's not like you have to be a physicist or a coding wizard or an engineer or a PhD to work here.
Yeah. No doubt.
You're taking jobs legitimately away from OG Charlottesville, fabric Charlottesville, everyday Charlottesville.
Yeah.
That's what stinks.
And a lot of them.
And what should concern everyone is how the area is very much becoming a science, technology, engineering, math, and really nothing else. We'll throw finance in there as well.
Right.
And I understand that those jobs pay extremely well. And I understand that those jobs are always going to be in vogue and Tony and filled by talented people. But eventually it's going to create a gentrification of Charlottesville culture where you're going to have a Greenwich, Connecticut effect, a Silicon Valley, San Francisco, Boulder, Colorado, Austin, Texas effect. Mm-hmm. Where it's homogeneous in look and a wealthy resident, and that's about it. 206 jobs lost with the closing of this facility. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add on that?
No, it's just, I mean, I think we need more companies like that to come in and boost the economy, boost the job openings.
The problem with Custom Inc.'s thinking about Charlottesville for a headquarters, and I'm not talking Custom Inc. specifically, I'm talking about employers like that in general.
Why would somebody want to come in here?
Why would someone want to come here? When the employees they have to hire for jobs like this can't afford to live there. And then I'll end up commuting 45 minutes one way to get to the job. It's going to be difficult to staff these spots. Because when you're working at the production facility of Custom Inc., there's only so much money that this business can pay you.
Yeah.
Only so much money. It's
Right.
not like it's tied to bonuses associated with performance on a stock market.
So a business looking for a place to settle down is going to look for places where
They can find employees.
the middle and lower classes can afford to live so that,
They can staff it.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Custom Inc. and this production facility needs middle class, lower class, essentially, to keep the business going. And last I checked, that's the exact demographic that's getting pushed out of here.
Yeah.
So why would future Custom Incs move here to open up headquarters?
Yeah.
That's the conundrum.
Maybe we're seeing more than just the death spiral of the downtown mall.
You don't want it to be doom and gloom. It's so doom and
Just
gloom.
asking a question.
Doom and gloom. Good Lord. The bull and the
Look
bear.
at all the businesses that are closing.
Oh, I know.
How much of that is because of a dwindling supply of workers?
I think it's a lot. I mean, you're talking what? The Piedmont? You're talking Custom Inc.? You're talking many of the Champion Hospitality Group entities?
Yeah.
I mean, that was some financial issues with that one. But I mean, you got a lot of these businesses that are closing that are directly associated with no labor, and it's directly associated with because the labor can't afford to live here.
Yeah.
And if you're only making X amount of dollars at a job like this, but you have to drive 45 minutes one way because you can't afford to live around your job, that's going to eat into your patience of staying with that company,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
206 jobs lost. All right, 2 other items out of the notebook, then we'll get out of here. Speculation on the interwebs has a new restaurant potentially heading to the Fellini's location. We'll follow that closely. You and I are hearing through the grapevine, and we will not acknowledge, because we respect people's anonymity considerably, who the grapevine is. But you and I are hearing through the grapevine that maybe some of the team members from Draft Tap House are involved, Draft Tap Room, are involved with the Fellini's location.
Well, that doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence in me.
Because Draft Tap Room has stayed empty and vacant and closed for a very long period of time.
Yeah, it's like one of the best bars in Charlottesville.
Wow, that's high praise.
Well, for me, I like a good selection. And
Yeah, the selection's great.
Draft had a great selection.
And Draft had a business model that worked during COVID. You were serving yourself.
Yeah, and they still closed.
Draft has a model that works during a labor shortage. You're serving yourself.
Yeah, you just need somebody at the register and maybe
A few guys in the back of the house making the food.
Yeah.
And then you picked up the food at the window. There was no staff.
Yeah. So what it's doing still closed, I don't know. And if
Well, they're remodeling it left and right.
why though? Did it need remodeling? It's a simple concept. What else did it need?
I don't own it.
If somebody apparently doesn't mind wasting money because,
Or has enough money that it's not a big deal.
yeah,
That they can just pay rent on something that stays vacant.
yeah,
They are, Bob. They're slowly, Bob Yarborough watching the program, friend of the program, they're slowly reopening Draft on the downtown mall. I've been told by multiple folks that it's very near opening, but that was before Christmas. And you would think that you would want a business like Draft open for, say, college basketball season, for, say, the start of the NFL playoffs and the college football playoffs. And so far, that has not been the case.
Yeah.
So we'll follow Fellini's.
So if the same people are in charge of the
It doesn't sound
Fellini
promising
space,
to you.
I mean, we could be waiting another 5 years just for them to figure out what oven they want to use.
What would you like to see going to Fellini's?
What would I like to see? Huh?
I have an idea if you want me to jump in first.
Go ahead.
I'd like to see a sports bar. I'd like to see a sports bar at Fellini's. A true elevated sports bar. Not something grimy and grungy. An elevated sports bar with a limited menu that's legit, TVs everywhere. That does not exist downtown. Draft Tap Room will help fill that void because there are TVs everywhere,
Yeah.
but right now it's not open. If you want to watch the game in downtown Charlottesville, where do you go? You basically have either Citizen Burger. We were in this conundrum over the weekend. You have Citizen Burger Bar or South Street Brewery on the downtown mall. Where else do you go to watch games on the downtown mall? Citizen Burger Bar or South Street Brewery.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a sports-centric restaurant head to Fellini's with ample television viewing for sports fans. And I think it would do well.
All right.
What would you want to see? You want to add to that?
I don't know what I'd want to see. I think we've lost all of our steakhouses. It would be nice to have a
Steakhouse?
Good, yeah.
There's not a steakhouse downtown, which is interesting.
Yeah.
The only steakhouse you have right now is the Aberdeen Barn.
Yeah.
Now you have Daniel Kaufman, and I'm going to get to Daniel Kaufman in a matter of moments. We had a fantastic dinner last night at Public Fish and Oyster. Daniel Kaufman, who owns the Bottle Shop on West Main, who owns Public Fish and Oyster, he's opening Black Cow Chop House. And Black Cow Chop House is expected to open as early as potentially next month in the old Little Star spot. And it's a wood-fired meats type restaurant that prides itself on...
Is that mid to West Main?
Yeah, it's right across from Oak Heart Social.
That doesn't
The
help
old
me
Little
much.
Star spot. It used to be Zinc, the restaurant Zinc. It used to be the station. It used to be 3 Penny Cafe. It used to be Little Star. Daniel
Yeah.
Kaufman said, "The Focus, Jerry, is a daily selection of local and nationally sourced steaks and chops, fish, seafood, and classic steakhouse dishes.
Oh,
We will
man.
offer a killer happy hour in the spirit of Public Fish and Oyster and a comprehensive beverage program with an emphasis on our bourbon and wine selection. The front foyer will be our cocktail lounge for casual diners and weekend late-night drinks." I love it. I love this idea.
Sounds good, yeah.
It sounds dynamite.
Yeah.
And speaking of Daniel Kaufman, someone tag Daniel Kaufman here. Daniel Kaufman is the owner of Public Fish and Oyster. Someone get Daniel Kaufman in the feed and tag Daniel Kaufman. My family and I celebrated my father-in-law's birthday last night at Public Fish and Oyster, his 69th birthday. And we had a dynamite time.
Nice.
The happy hour is amazing at Public. It's absolutely amazing, the happy hour. They have $5 beers. I was drinking Hardywood Great Return
Wow.
to Start. Then I noticed on the happy hour menu that there was an old fashioned. The old fashioned was made by Danny, the old manager of Zocalo Restaurant. I believe his last name is Hugus. I'm sorry if I'm messing your last name up, Danny. He made a killer old fashioned. It was $7.50 in happy hour.
Damn.
$7.50.
Okay.
That's
I can't
fantastic
remember-
price.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I've been to a happy hour, so I don't know what the prices usually are. I just know
Fantastic
that that's
price.
cheap for $5 beer is cheap anywhere in Charlottesville.
Exactly. They had lobster roll. The lobster roll was market rate. I think it was $14. And my father-in-law, who's from Long Island, made the comment, "This lobster roll is stuffed with more." He got one too. I got one too. He says it's stuffed with more lobster meat than any lobster roll I've ever had. And we're in Central Virginia.
Yeah.
And he lives on Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolutely dynamite, guys. Daniel Kaufman, Public Fish and Oyster, is running flawlessly.
Nice.
Flawlessly. And if you have not had happy hour at Public Fish and Oyster, you are missing what is arguably one of the best happy hours in Central Virginia. And Scott Aaronworth in Virginia Beach, I 100% agree with your comment. He says Public has great French fries, unbelievably good French fries.
Wow. Are they crunchy?
They're not super crunchy, but they're not soggy either.
Okay.
And they come with ramekins of deliciousness associated with them, like a garlic aioli sauce. And the house bread that's at Public is dynamite. The house bread.
Nice.
I had a phenomenal experience, and I would encourage all the viewers and listeners, and he's not a client. We have no financial relationship. All he is a small business owner just like me, and I respect his hustle and his chutzpah and what he's doing on West Main. Daniel Kaufman, very quietly, is becoming the mayor of Midtown.
Nice.
He has Public, he has the bottle shop across from Public, and he's opening up a steakhouse right across from Public as well. He's got 3 businesses all across the street from each other, all within like 15 steps of each other, which is making it easy for him to manage. It's brilliant.
Is Pronto no more?
Pronto is closed. That was on the UVA corner.
Yeah. That's
That
what I
had
thought.
bad luck, the Pasta to Go Pasta opening right in the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Daniel Kaufman, I think, is the mayor of Midtown now.
Nice.
Someone tell Daniel Kaufman I'm giving him some props on today's talk show, please. All right, any closing thoughts?
No.
This is a talk show.
Not really. I mean,
You are right, Bill McChesney. The mayor of McIntyre says the building Custom Inc. is in is the same building Reason Beer is in. He's exactly right. The Reason Beer tap room is now officially closed.
that's too bad. I'm pretty sure that is Greenbrier.
Is mayor of McIntyre, is that Greenbrier? It's the warehouse space kind of behind Stonefield, isn't it? Check it out.
I don't think it's
is
even
it Greenbrier?
close to Stonefield, really.
Let's do. Are you sure?
Google mapping it right now. Let's see.
You got too many tabs open on that computer, don't you?
I don't know what that has to do with me going to Google Maps, but thank you for that
Is that
Opinion.
Greenbrier? And we're not talking about the spot in Barracks Road Shopping Center in North Barracks. Because Custom Ink has a location there.
Seminole Trail, right across. Yeah, it's Greenbrier, and if I'm thinking correctly,
I see it right here. You got a Custom Ink headquarters, you got a Reason Beer, a Micro Systems. I guess it's kind of off Greenbrier Drive. You go Greenbrier to Comdial Drive. All right, I'll give you Greenbrier. We'll say Greenbrier's right.
Comdial.
It's right off Greenbrier.
Oh, I see.
It's off Greenbrier.
I gotcha.
206 jobs. Good Lord.
I thought it was on the other side of Greenbrier.
No. You did a good job today, Judah.
Thank you.
Bill McChesney says it's the Stromberg Carlson building off of Greenbrier and Commonwealth. But it's called the Stromberg Carlson building, and it's off of Greenbrier and Commonwealth. Thank you, Bill. Mayor of McIntyre made us better. Thank you to all the viewers and listeners. This is the I Love Seville show where we talk local, Monday through Friday, 12:30 to, we went to 153 today without stopping. Judah Wickower was on point. We're selling 5'8" posters of Judah Wickower for $75 on iloveseville.com.
5'8".
Oh, I was trying to give you some props here.
Is there
The poster's taller than you.
is there like 3 inches of books at the bottom of it?
You're wearing Timberlands.
I'm
You're wearing LL Bean duck boots.
with
You got an extra 2.5 inches.
extremely tall soles.
Do you think anyone would buy a 5'8" poster of you?
I hope not.
Oh, God. Your dry humor continues to make me laugh. All right, that's the talk show. For Judah, I'm Jerry. It's the I Love Seville show on a Wednesday. You guys have a good afternoon. Take care. A 5'8" poster of you would be effing hilarious. A life-size poster of you would be hilarious.
I shudder.
I think we
I
would sell
shudder
a
to
few of them.
think.
I don't think we would sell them for $75.